Welcome to Taking the Rams by the Horns, a podcast that takes current affairs out of current affairs. This is a podcast in partnership with Sowetan Live. I'm your host, Rams Mabote. A famous joke goes that I couldn't tell whether it's in the Eastern Cape or the Western Cape, but this man approaches this woman and he likes her very much, but he's not, he's not finessed, man. His style, is not styling. And the woman, who also liked him, by the way, very much, then says to him, and I quote from the joke, "Yas bhuti, nam ndiyakuthanda, qha ubethwa yi-approach." Now, I was reminded of this joke when last week, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that finally we're going to have a national dialogue in the country. Now, you can argue whether or not we need a dialogue. That's not the point, and I'm going to get to that later. But I thought how they announced this thing and how they branded it, the approach was wrong. Babetwe approach. So, you see, the president then decides we're going to have this group of people, I think it's 30-something people, 37 or something like that. Fine by me. But he calls them the eminent person group. Eminent. Folks, we have 60 million plus South Africans and others here. What makes these people eminent? I mean, when he announced this thing, it got funny. If you listen to talk radio, people were saying, are they like influencers? I mean, what makes them eminent? And look, in truth, some of these people are top people. Dr. Brigelia Baum, former chairperson of the Independent Electoral Commission, Judge Edwin Cameron, we all know him, former Constitutional Court judge, Desiree Ellis, the most successful female national coach of football, right? I think it's difficult to doubt John Kani. Who can doubt John Kani, one of the greatest people we've ever produced in the arts in this country? So I'm not even going to single out anybody here and say they're not eminent. I could even, Robbie Brosen, entrepreneur and business person. I can even claim friend. I think Robbie has done amazing work in South Africa to be part of this group of people. But when you say they're eminent, I think your approach yakbeta, man, President. You see, because then there are a lot of people who are gonna think are equally eminent, and question would be, why not them? Like Jomo Sono. Why not Jomo Sono? He's probably the most successful, unsuccessful person I can think about in football, right? Think about it. He has undone everything he ever did. That makes him eminent, no? Why not him? Why not Judge Rathamokwatleng? Judge Rathamokwatleng has, made being a judge be celebrated, right? And when it gets boring, he then attacks everybody. Then he comes back and he does a 35-minute apology, apologizing to everybody, including those who are not yet born. What makes him not eminent? I suppose you could argue that because he's sitting on the bench currently, he's too busy, he won't be part of this thing. Well, I'll tell you, I doubt Desiree Ellis will be able to sit on this thing because Banyana have qualified for the World Cup and they'll be busy. So I'm not sure whether she'll have time to do this work. So who's to argue who must be there and who shouldn't be there? Take President Jacob Zuma. There's nobody who makes us talk in this country than President Jacob Zuma, right? And he's former president of this country. If you want people to talk, I think there's one person who makes us talk, whether it's to talk sense or nonsense, whether it's to talk for or against, but we talk because, 1 minute he thinks Floyd is the greatest thing that ever happened, and the next thing, and then he fires the man, or not fires him. We're not sure how he puts it. I suppose at the time of recording, I think I saw the fact that I think Floyd is going to fire himself. But, I'm saying when you call other 37 people eminent as opposed to everybody else? Why not everybody else? What's their fault? So I'm done with the approach, but let's talk about the content then. Dialogue. Well, one would argue that, of course, we are a country that has been created out of dialogue. Right? We spoke ourselves over the years into a lot of things. We there was conversation to start the ANC in 1912, and it happened in 1912. There was the action plan of 1944, 40 something. I think the ANC's action plan, which later, by the way, led to the formation of the PAC. We had the 1955 Freedom Charter. We've been talking, and we had talks about talks, Grooteskir, around 1990. Then we had CODESA that led to what we call New South Africa now. So you can't delegitimize talking, right? Talking is, we've had dialogues to get us somewhere. I mean, some of the dialogues are questionable as one would speak about them. Like, there are dialogues that I think went completely wrong, but I'm not going to single them out. So dialogues are important. But if you're a listener of or an observer of current affairs, you'll ask yourself, what is it that these guys have to talk about that nobody knows about? I mean, we know our problems. We don't need another dialogue. I don't, or at least we don't need it in the way that the president put it to me. I think that there are other ways of doing this thing, but we know it. Crime is one thing that we don't need to talk about. Just solve the crime. And that includes the crime that happens in your corridors, Mr. President. Everybody's stealing around you, and they stick around. Nobody gets fired. Politicians, civil servants, they all steal. And when there's a case open, they then move to another department, or they just disappear. And why do we not talk about this thing and not arrest people? We've got a 400,000 tome book called the Zondo Commission Report. It says, take some action. What do we want to talk about? Please tell me, Mr. President. What radio stations do you listen to? What newspapers do you read? I mean, I'm sure even podcasts like this tell you what we need to think about, Mr. President. Why do we need to go and talk again? I mean, why do you go stress the brothers Lekhanyan? Both of them have to sit in this thing. These guys run millions of people every week in prayer, in faith issues. You want them to go and talk about crime that affects their people? They'd rather have tea, I'm telling you that. And I'm telling you for free, Mr. President. You don't have to pay me for this. I charge for a lot of things I say. But this one, I'm telling you for free. I am not sure what we are trying to achieve that we don't know. What is it that you don't know, Mr. President, about unemployment? I mean, if you are not sure about unemployment, let me tell you what it also did. The elections of 2024, the national elections that created the GNU that you now lead, created unemployment in your own ANC. Do you know how many people had to lose their jobs now that you guys lost the numbers? So you can't even doubt unemployment inside the ANC. A lot of your comrades are unemployed because you guys lost the votes. So there is unemployment. You don't even have to hear Stats SA tell you about it. And of course, there's a debate about whether it's 31% or 45%, as if one of them is better or worse. Really? Do you want to live in a country that has 31% unemployment and think, but it's not 44%, as your MPs argue in Parliament? Come on! We know that's a problem. Which also explains, by the way, why a lot of people do podcasts, because they're unemployed. So they don't know what to do. I'm not talking about myself. I'm just saying, it does affect, unemployment affects a whole lot of people. And then education, Mr. President, education, and I'm talking basic education, long before we even get to, tertiary education, just basic education. Literacy levels in this country are scary. Numeracy levels are even more horrifying. We can't pass arithmetic, let alone mathematics. I mean, literacy, if you want proof of literacy problems, just go through Twitter. South Africans can't spell anything. I don't think they can spell your name, Mr. President. And maybe this group must talk about that. Right? So I'm not sure what they're going to do. I'm not sure when they meet in August And who do they meet with? Do they meet alone first and then do they call us into groups? How is it going to happen? Is it going to be broadcast live? Do we tune in and can we comment? I'd like to know how this is going to work. But this is the funny part. Long before we know how it's going to work, the office of your deputy tells us this is likely to cost us 700 million rand. I'd like not to laugh. I honestly would like not to laugh. We don't know what we're dealing with. How do we know how to price it? I'm not sure if it makes sense. Of course, there's been some, now trying to reverse on the number. We're not too sure. And some of it could already be taken care of by other programs that are happening. But how did we get to 700 million? Let me tell you how I think we got there. I think some people may have calculated the kind of money some people, some parties may need for the upcoming local government elections. And say, so what if we use this dialogue so that this money comes in and then it goes to electioneering? But I'm a cynic, right? I'm sure you're going to dismiss me. I'm sure I'm talking nonsense. But I can tell you one thing. I am not talking nonsense about this thing should not be costing us 700 million rand, Mr. President. In fact, if you said to me it's going to cost us 7 million rands, I would still wonder how. Please demonstrate it to me. I mean, we can all go talk and bring our scarf teams. Why do we... What are you going to do? I'm sure somebody can donate a hall where we can talk like the World Trade Center was donated for CODESA. So where is this going to happen that it costs us so much money? I mean, Mr. President, with respect, the guys that you have here as your eminent persons group, I don't think that they're going to need stipends to come to this thing. They're doing fine. I mean, that includes priests like, Bishop Thabo Makgoba of the Anglican Church. I'm sure he'll be fine. The church takes care of him. He's got a very modest house in Bishop's Court in Cape Town. Doesn't live a terrible life. These guys are okay. Lindiwe Mazibuko, the former DAMP, who then went on to Harvard, I don't think that she battles too much to go along every day, day by day. Yeah, look, one could argue, Mr. President, and you probably have to explain this to me. Kgotatso Montjane, the Grand Slam tennis champion, including just recently at the French Open, winning doubles, I think she may need the money legitimately because do you remember that your government has never really supported her? Now you turn around and call her eminent. She couldn't even afford a wheelchair at some point. And all of you went under, did not hear her, did not even see her. But now she's an eminent person. Look, if we're going to spend 700 million, Mr. President, maybe she deserves 10% of that. I don't think we'll complain. Nah, I'll defend her. She deserves it. She's put her name out there in the world in a much, much better way than most of your guys have done to the world. So, Kgotatso, yeah, maybe. And maybe Gcina Mhlophe, storytellers, writers, and actors don't really make money. So, if you gave Sis Gcina some money, viva kulondawo. But so let's go back to the 700 million. So, I was thinking, we're going to have, I'm told, 2 sessions in August this year and early next year. So, let's divide that into the 350 million rand each. What does it buy us, Mr. President? What is the result? What do we get out of that we can then say, we take to the future and we then look better and we say to our children, you see, we had a chat in August 2025 and that's why things are so beautiful, my children. That's why you guys have roof over your heads. That's why you can walk at night and not get raped or killed. That's why, young boys don't have to take anybody's money. That's why you guys can count something. What are we going to get out of this thing? Or it's going to be another chat and then we feel good that we spoke and go back to our lagers. And by the way, Mr. President, could anything that is discussed in these dialogues influence government policy? And this is a very legitimate question. And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question, Mr. President. I have never seen any shift in government policy in a long time, even when you guys talk in parliament every day, What more when outsiders come in? How are they going to influence things that you do every day? You know, the other day, Mr. President, I was watching the parliamentary channel on television, for which I pay lots of money, by the way. And there was I think this scoper, and they were grilling the head of the road accident fund. The kind of things I was hearing there was like, that's where we could get 700 million very quickly. Just stop it from bleeding. Like, you hear about people who are being appointed and getting lots of money, but they have no qualifications. I mean, like, how do you explain? Like, somebody appointed as head of legal, but they're not a lawyer. They don't have legal qualifications, and they're getting paid lots of money. How do you explain people who are supposedly PAs are running corporate services and stuff like that? Like, we have enough money before we even ask for it somewhere else. Stop. I mean, the road accident fund is actually an accident. If you think about it currently, Mr. President, that's where the money should be gotten from. Not that it should go to this dialogue of yours, but can't we just solve the solvable things before we go grandstanding and trying to look good, And no, man. One of the reasons I like Trump, Mr. President, I mean, of course, we all dislike him, and he's a very dislikable guy. But I'll tell you, I mean, as we speak, the G7, he walks out of the G7 this week, because he's decided you guys are talking nonsense, and he's got Iran and Israel to think about. Men of action, Trump and Zuma are men of action, Mr. President. They take action, those guys, rightly or wrongly. I'm just saying. So we are going to have this conversation twice at 350 apiece, and what's going to come of it? I promise you, if you gave it to either of the two gentlemen I just mentioned, Mr. President. So I'm sitting here as, by the way, somebody who believes that we need to talk our problems away. We need to come together and face issues. In the episode I recorded last week, the one thing I support is that we need to talk about race in this country. We need to face race head on and deal with it, like my guest from the Human Bridge movement said, right? I agree. But other things are not a conversation. Arrest the criminals. Make the streets cleaner. Pay the teachers more. Improve the education. Pay the nurses. If money is put aside to go to Baragwanath Hospital, it must not end at the Baragwanath bottle store next door. I mean, I know it's the same street, but it's not the same project. So just let's do the right things. And when they are not done, there's a secret word, Mr. President, or at least a phrase that was used a long time ago by the current president of the United States. You're fired. Use that word. Fire people. But don't fire those that stole. Fire them and arrest them. Don't just fire them. I mean, we see this thing. Somebody, I think at the road accident fund, the guy who's, I think is head of IT or chief something, investment officer, got fired from the city of Joburg for something that did not smell good. They go hire him there. As a belief, man, let's not do this. No, man. No, Mr. President. I mean, we all want to be angry with the 49 refugees that left. But, when these things happen, they get legitimized. So I just want to know, as I conclude, because I don't want to go on forever. I'm not the only one who's going to be unhappy about this matter. I just want to know that there will be action that is actionable out of these dialogues. I just want to know that these dialogues are not going to be wasting time about things that we all know. The things we know that you have known. Remember, Mr. President, what was it, 2009? Or whenever. I don't even count years anymore because things could have been whatever. But when you came in after the ANC asked Jacob Zuma to step down, you came in and said, Tumamina. I popanga leo, Mr. President. I popanga. But please, Mr. President, I'm sure you can do better than this. I'm sure even, as a legacy thing now that the days are numbered, well, I say constitutional. I'm not saying you're going to be fired. I'm saying your time is going to come up. Although we know the ANC could fire you, it's not a strange thing that's happened before. But this is an opportunity to do something much, much better, Mr. President. Much, much better. So I'm asking you, give us some action. Do the right things out of this dialogue, things that you can do, things that the law allows you to do. You know, Manje, we're sitting in a country where General Mkhwanazi is more popular than you. You know how sad that is? You don't want to be popular for combating crime because it tells what it means that there's a lot of crime. You know, it's like when a goalkeeper wins man of the match. It means they were under pressure. So he's shown to become the man of the match. You want strikers to be men of the match, not defenders, not goalkeepers. When a commissioner of police is man of the match, it tells you the serious problem of crime. And the president, the striker, is not even a contender. Preza, let's do better. I hope you heard me. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Taking the Rams by the Horns. As usual, if current affairs bores you, just buy my book, The Sweetest Taboo. It's not boring. It's well written and it's fun. It is fun. Please send your comments to rams@ramsmabote.com and press that small button. It's to your right on the screen. Subscribe and share. From me, Rams Mabote, goodbye and God bless.